No,
Welcome
please
to
lead
another
on.
episode of A Cuppa with a Conversationalist. My name is Con and I am the Conversationalist. And yes, as always, I have my cuppa in tow. Very, very special episode today. And I want to ask you, have you ever had trouble concentrating? Perhaps your focus isn't as good as you'd like it to be. Or do you have one of those inner voices that constantly berate you and hold you back? The good news is you're not alone. Everyone has these issues. It's how they deal with them that determines their level of success. My guest today is Darren Fleming. Darren is a speaker, author, and trainer to some of the largest companies in Australia and around the world. His latest book, Mindset Mastery, was published earlier this year and is currently being translated into Japanese. In it, he shows how to deactivate distracting thoughts, quieten that inner voice, so you can have the concentration and focus that you need to get through your day. Darren has studied psychology at UniSA and philosophy at Oxford. Yes, that's Oxford in the UK. And each year he puts himself through a 10-day silent meditation retreat, which he says teaches him more than any uni course ever could. Here today to have a conversation about mindset and how we can master our own mindset. Please welcome Darren Fleming. How are you, Darren?
I'm well, mate. Yourself?
Absolute awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming onto the program.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Darren, I'd like to start with your book. It's, first of all, why Japanese? Of all the languages, have it translated to?
When I was at Oxford, one of the guys at the front of the classroom, he was just that quiet Japanese guy, and I got talking to him during my studies there, and turns out he was a professor of ICT at Tokyo University. And we just got chatting, and I told him what I did, and he downloaded the book from Amazon or wherever you download it. And he said, I want to translate this and take it into Japan. So from there, the book is currently being translated into Japan. We're signing all the contracts, and I'll be... To quote that song from the 80s, I'll be big in Japan.
Good on you, mate. That's awesome to hear. Awesome to hear. Darren, I confess I downloaded your book yesterday and I've listened on Audible. I'm a big Audible fan. And it had me intrigued from the get-go. I've listened to a lot of self-help books in search of many, many answers, because I openly acknowledge that I do suffer from some of the major afflictions that we talk about: procrastination, self-doubt, etc. And I was conflicted by some of the information that I got. And what really got me with your book, literally in the first part, you talk about the conflicting messages, and I'll quote a couple of these. And these books are what I would suggest almost iconic in the professional and personal development realm. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People versus Atomic Habits. The Alchemist versus Thinking Fast and Slow. The 48 Laws of Power and Influence versus How to Win Friends. And of course, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, and The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Beep. Tell the listeners who's not necessarily who's right or who's wrong, but where we're so conflicted. Why is this so?
Well, who's right and who's wrong is an artifact of what side of the pencil you are sitting on. So I'm going to say I'm right, I'm going to say they're wrong, and they will do likewise. So because I've read all those books, and I've been a self-help junkie probably since like year 9 at school, year 10, something like that. Like I knew I could be better than what I currently was. So I read all the Zig Ziglars and blah, 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 and consumed it all. And every time I consumed what they put out, I've done affirmations in front of the mirror for like 10 minutes a morning. And as I'm saying, yes, I can, every day in perfect way, I'll be better and better, and I will be successful. There's always that voice in the back of the head going, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not. And for 10 minutes, you're doing it in front of the mirror and you're pumped. And you walk out of the bathroom or the bedroom or wherever you've done it, and you're back to where you were. there is something in the body. So if you're sitting there going, I am successful, I am successful, I am successful, by definition, there is something you're pushing against. Because why would you have to convince yourself that you are something if you're not already that? Okay, if you're already successful, you don't have to say, I'm successful. So there's something inside you that's telling you you're not successful. All of the self-help books are about deactivating that feeling, that thought. All of the self-help books are about overriding that thought, that feeling that you're not good enough. So you just got to push against it. You've got to feel the fear and do it anyway. You've got to have the atomic habits. You've got to, have the power of habits to push through to be successful. My attitude was, that's hard work. Why don't we just simply deactivate what we're pushing against? And if we can deactivate it, we're not going to have to do affirmations. We can be a choice. I can choose to be successful. I can choose to be something else. And it's that simple.
It certainly sounds very, very simple. I'm going to fast forward now because we've spoken about affirmations. And affirmations, my interpretation and my belief was always that we're always having that conversation, internal conversation of who we are, who we're not, whether we're good enough, we're not good enough, etc. And it's my understanding was always rewiring our beliefs and our thoughts, but you're telling me that's not the case.
Well, you don't even know what half of your beliefs are. So how can you rewire them?
Well, do
you believe you're a healthy person?
In essence, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how strong is that belief?
Fairly strong.
Out of 10.
Oh, good 8.
Good 8. So it's not a real belief. You're only 80% committed to your belief. So it's a position. It's a liking. Now, most people say, okay, I'm a 10 out of 10 on my health. Okay. So you believe you're a healthy person. But yeah, at lunch you had hot chips and then you wash it down with a few beers. A healthy person does not do that. Now, I'm all for some chips and having a few beers if that's what you choose. But what's happening, you're in conflict with your belief. So maybe you don't actually have that belief. Maybe it's just a story you're telling yourself because it's socially acceptable to do.
Okay.
So if you say, oh, I need to change my belief, well, you don't even follow them anyway. So why even bother trying to change them? Belief's simply a story.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So the other part...
Can we change our story?
Well, my idea is why even have a story?
Okay.
Because a story is still not reality.
This is going deep.
Oh, this got deep real quick.
Yeah.
So it's Saturday in spring. It is a beautiful day outside. So what is the day like? So for the bride getting married in spring, beautiful, it's sunny. But for the person out on the farm, hasn't had rain for 3 years, it's sunny. That is not beautiful. So it is simply a story being imposed. So to change your story means you have to go, well, it's the rainy day or the non-rainy and sunny day is now good. But that doesn't help. So simply remove stories. It is a sunny day. Don't add a story to it because it's only going to be not true.
Okay. Is there a difference here? Because I heard Kerwin Ray many years ago talk about labeling things, and he talked about there's no good or bad, there just is.
It's exactly what it is.
What I'm hearing is not about getting rid of the perception or the view, but rather removing the label to which that you attach. Using your example of the weather, the spring day, rather than the farmer who's in a drought and the bride who's kicking her heels up because she's got beautiful weather. It's a beautiful spring day. End of. That's it.
Well, even beautiful is a story. It is a spring day.
It is a spring day.
Now, spring is you could say that it is a measure. It's a concept or a construct that we as humans have created.
Mm.
So, it's also the time where all the little baby lambs are born, etc. So you can label that. It is a spring day. The sun is shining. It is not raining. Now, that doesn't mean, it sounds very dry and academic and, but I love having a beautiful day. Well, we all do. But just don't get in love. Don't fall in love with the story you're telling about it. You can go outside and enjoy the day without having to label it all these words.
Sure.
Now, like the listeners listening to this going, oh, God, you're a bit pedantic there, aren't you, Darren? You're sucking all the fun out of life. It's an ordinary, everyday example of understanding the process that you apply to a tough situation. I've had a car accident. Oh, it's a terrible thing. It's a this, it's a that. No, you had a car accident. Oh, yeah, but I've got to get the car fixed, and now I'm a passenger in hospital, and it's awful. It's terrible. You still have to deal with all of those things. But if you're dealing with the story of these things are terrible, it makes it harder to deal with what's in front of you. And what ends up happening is you deal with the story, not with what's in front of you. And they're not always the same. You see the delineation there?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to have to watch this over and over. And I'm fascinated by your book. As I said, I'm about 3/4 of the way through, and it'll be back on Audible. Let's move on, because this is a really deep rabbit hole, and you and I could talk about this for 4 days. The other thing that really resonated with me in your book is the story about the conflict about the ice cream, the internal voice. I want the ice cream. I want the ice cream. Go on, you deserve it. You've had a good day. No. I've got to be good. No, go on, you deserve it. And then when you get the ice cream, it's, yeah, you fat pig. What'd you have the ice cream for? You've chucked your diet down. That's something that not only when you want something, but when you're trying to avoid. And the other example you use quite well in your book is the gym. You got to go to the gym, got to go to the gym, got to go. Then you don't go to the gym, and it's, you fat so-and-so, you should have gone to the gym, you're lazy, you're this. Yeah. That's something that I'm making assumptions here. I would think the majority of the population would deal with something like that, even at a fairly high level in performance, whether it's management, sport. And I use a lot of sporting analogies in what I do because I'm a sports nut. All right. Talk me through that. What's going on there?
Habits and discipline are a cage that keep freedom at bay. So, okay, I've got discipline, I've got habit. I have the habit of going to the gym 3 mornings a week, okay? But I also have a habit of being with my family. Family is very important. Now, if you read all the good books, the Atomic Habits, the Power of Habits, all those books are all essentially the same. They'll all talk about, and James Clear in Atomic Habits says this: miss 1 day, that's fine, but never miss 2. Okay? So you go to the gym 3 days a week. Normally you'd go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But Sunday night, your youngest kid had a dog of a night, couldn't get to sleep. Your wife was up all night. Your son's finally got to sleep. Do you get up and leave your wife on 2 hours sleep to look at after the kids in the morning, or do you, family first, I'm going to look after the kids, I'm going to skip the gym? Okay, that's fine, because you're allowed to miss 1 day, never 2. Wednesday, you actually have to be on the red eye to go to interstate for a meeting. You've missed it. Okay, you've missed 2 days in a row. But it's all right, you're back on late Thursday night. So you can still go Friday morning, except you realise, damn, it's my daughter's birthday. That's right, I'll go on Saturday. I can't, because on Saturday I take Johnny to cricket really early. So can you see how you've got all these habits, but they get in the way of life? And what ends up happening is you either put one habit of my health above my family, and you come up with all these stories to justify it. And then that's fine until your wife challenges you and go, yeah, but what about me? I'm trying to handle these kids. And now you've got your habit of that you want to keep of going to the gym and the discipline you want of your family. They're in conflict. So which one of them wins? Obviously, the family's going to win, but you're going to go off to work, bitch, and bloody wife. She never lets me do this. This is just all the shit that humans do. That's why and discipline's the same. Discipline says, oh, you know, I'd really love a piece of cake. That would be really nice, but I'm not going to. I am going to because I'm trying to lose some weight. So what you've got there are cages to keep freedom at bay. Why do you want that piece of cake? Why do you want it?
Because it tastes damn good.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you look internally, if you pay attention to what's going on in your mind, your brain body instrument, there will be an energetic sensation inside you saying, I want this cake. True?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what the drive for the cake is that you need to have discipline to counter. Okay? So the drive is saying, have some cake. The discipline says, no. So freedom is cut off because you're now following a discipline, not choice. That's why I don't like freedom, habits and discipline, because the habit says I've got to go to the gym today, even though I want to stay home with my daughter when she wakes up for her birthday, or I want to stay at home and support my wife because the kids were up late all night. But I've got a habit of going to that, so you've got conflict. Why don't we just deactivate that energetic sensation in your body that says, I want to have some chocolate cake? If we get rid of that drive for chocolate cake, you don't need discipline. True?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why people don't buy chocolate cake. That's why I won't go to the morning tea. That's why I won't have alcohol or cookies at home in the cupboard, because I don't want to have that energetic sensation. But you not wanting to have that energetic sensation, therefore not having anything in the house, means your wife doesn't have it either. So she is now in a cage set up by your lack of ability to control the energetic sensations in your body. Just deactivate that energetic sensation. When you deactivate that energetic sensation, you don't have to have discipline to fight against it, which means you can look at a piece of chocolate cake and go, piece of chocolate cake, and don't care about it. Or you can go, piece of chocolate cake, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. And you'll have a little bit of it, or maybe you'll have the whole piece, and then you'll finish it, and you won't beat yourself up for being a fatty boombar and eating that chocolate cake.
Convinced you've been spying on me, but anyway.
Actually, all I've been doing is paying attention to what was holding me back for like best part of 50 years. And then I thought, I've got to sort this stuff out. So I went off and found some answers and put it all together and wrote the book.
You talk about, in the book, you talk about acknowledging the feelings. Where are they in your body? What do they feel like? Experience them, but essentially let them go.
Yeah.
That sounds really, really easy. But I'm looking from a personal perspective. I know when I'm looking at a block of chocolate, and I know that block of chocolate isn't going to last very long at all.
Yep.
Is this something that we can deal with in a short space of time, or is this
depends on what you mean by
become
short
a discipline?
Space of time.
Well,
no, I hate discipline.
Yeah.
Short space of time, to me, a minute. Yeah, we can deal with it in that time.
Okay.
If you're listening to the Audible version,
correct,
and Audible didn't put the titles on the chapters, so even though they're short, even though we've supplied them, Audible are like that. But I'm just looking through the book, and when I get here, what page is it? Chocolate Be Gone on page 96 of the book talks about how to deactivate your attraction to the energetic sensation to have chocolate.
Okay.
And when you deactivate it, and it only takes maybe a minute to deactivate that energetic sensation.
A minute.
And when you deactivate, yeah. Now, it might only be 30 seconds.
Okay.
Depending on how deep your attraction to that is.
Mine's deep.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it takes you 2 minutes, my friend.
Mine's very, very deep. Unfortunately, I inherited my mum, may she rest in peace, her sweet tooth. And so to that end, it's, wow.
So back to what we were saying earlier about stories. So you inherited from your mum your sweet tooth. So can you see that's simply a story that you're now trying to battle that story because you love your mum and she's gone and this is the way I remember her. So, having this bit of chocolate actually brings back the memory and love of mum. That's called a craving. It was the Buddha who said all life contains suffering and we suffer because of cravings and aversions. You're wanting to hold on to that feeling for your mum. So you have told yourself a story about your tooth, your sweet tooth. Therefore, you can associate having chocolate with your mum. So therefore, it's okay to have chocolate even though you got the weight. Or you could just simply sit back and remember mum. Don't tell yourself a story about I've got a sweet tooth from mum.
I can't wait to get to that part of the book. I was going out for dinner tonight. I don't think I'm now. I'll ring them up and tell them that I'm busy. Personal and professional development.
That's the way that it goes.
That's the way to go. Darren, the other thing that we briefly touched on before we went live or before we started recording, you and I have known each other for a number of years, but there was an interesting post on social media that really poked and prodded me, and it was in reference, and I know you won't mind me mentioning it because you put it on social media. You recently traveled first class. It was one of your childhood dreams, and you traveled first class on a long haul flight, and you videoed it and you put it up on social media, and to suggest that I was green with some level of envy is an understatement. But again, that's something that I'll deal with. What was interesting for me though is social media is an interesting animal. We've got coaches who, on one hand, are quite open and active about sharing their level of success, whether it's a brand new Mercedes-Benz or whether it's laying on a bed full of money or a holiday or whatever. And for me, from my perspective, I don't look at it as tall poppy. I look at it and reinforcing their level of success. Okay. Now, others may look at it and go through jealousy and, you're just lying, because we know I could walk down the street, I could find a Porsche or a Lamborghini and I could get somebody to take a photo of me leaning on it and the guy that owns it in the shop next door.
Yeah.
But your commentary about your reluctance to do so, even though you were quite open to sharing some of your other successes in your past, i.e. the book, your journey to Oxford. And let's face it, not everybody just wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I'm going to go to Oxford. You were quite open about that. What did you battle with to put that post up and show that part of you and your journey that is quite ostentatious, let's say?
Yeah. And once again, this is back to stories. This is back to belief. So what I battled with is, so ever since I was a kid, I remember when I was a kid, I was talking to a family friend. They were a travel agent, and they were talking about how she had customers, clients who they fly to London first class. And I always thought, oh my God, I mean, I'd never been overseas at this time. Oh my God, you must be like a bazillionaire to have to do that. So to me, that was always the goal. You have made it. You are it in a bit. And it's a story wrapped up around money. So I've represented Australia. I had no problem. Social media wasn't really around back those days. I've written books. I've started my own practice. Done a lot of things, and I haven't had any problem sharing that information. But to turn around and say, I've bought a ticket, I've paid cash to fly to London, return first class, for me, there was some story within me that needed to be worked on. Now, it was Carl Jung who said, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will continue to turn up in our life and we will call it fate. So to deprogram the beliefs, the structures, everything that's inside us that we don't even know is there, we have to make it become conscious. And as the Stoics said, the obstacle is the way. So I've done this trip to the UK first class. I'm thinking of putting it up online. I've got all these stories inside me about traveling at the front of the plane, the money spent on it, and all the, you must be a wanker, you're a this, you're a that, to do all that. Mm-hmm. I had to battle. Well, normally you would have to battle through that. And I was doing that for a bit. I was really struggling. And then when my business coach turned around and said, Darren, why don't you take your own medicine, my friend?
Yeah, yeah.
And that is the process of mindset mastery. So I went through, I deactivated those energetic sensations. I stopped telling stories about it. And I just went, I deactivated it. Now, I'd been wrestling with this for quite some time, like weeks, months, because I was thinking, if I do this and put it up, can I, like, I booked the tickets in January and I flew in August. Mm-hmm. I told one person, well, my family, basically.
Yeah, sure.
But no one else, because I was dealing with this. And my coach said to me, Darren, why don't you apply your own medicine? So I applied the 6 don'ts technique that's in the Mindset Mastery book, and I deactivated them, and I've gone, yeah, I can put that up. And everyone who's watched has just gone, how cool is that? How cool is that? That's awesome. Love it. Oh, I wish I could do that. I was thinking I'm going to get massive blowback, but I created a story that actually wasn't true. So I deactivated it, put it up. People are going, awesome. And it caused you to reach out to me to have a conversation here on your podcast.
Yeah. And buy your book.
And buy my book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and this comes back to the story that we tell ourselves. Now, Darren, you know, the example I gave earlier was, it's a sunny day, it's a good day, or it's a sunny day, it's a bad day. This is what I mean by don't tell yourself a story. I can't put this on social media because turns out I was 100% wrong.
Which brings me back to, or not brings me back to, brings me to what I perceive would be probably the most common things that people battle with in terms of internal dialogue.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome. Am I good enough?
Yeah.
Fear of failure, which obviously can take many, many forms. Fear of rejection, having the gumption, you know, to walk up to that pretty girl or good looking bloke at the bar. And the worst demon, procrastination. These are some pretty serious stories that we have. And one of the things that I read, which again, may or may not be true, was 80 to 85% of things that people worry about never actually come true.
Yeah.
Or they over-exaggerate them to a point.
My life has been full of dramas, most of which never happened.
Okay. With the stories around imposter syndrome, am I good enough? I'm going to be found out. Why should I be here? And procrastination, the two things that talk us through that. And is it the same concept with the chocolate cake, or is it?
Yeah. So pretty much everyone suffers imposter syndrome to some point, don't they? And pretty much everyone suffers procrastination at some point. And pretty much everyone has fears of rejection, etc. Everyone I know has a heart that keeps beating, and none of them are trying to stop it. Everyone I know has lungs that have got a diaphragm attached to it, keeps going up and down, that causes air to come in and out. No one's trying to stop that. Don't know why. What if imposter syndrome, what if fear of rejection is not a bug, but a feature? if everyone's got it, maybe it's part of the hardware. Because what happens is the world triggers unconsciousness in us. Okay, we've got all this programming belief, and we've all seen the ice cube, the iceberg, 10% above, and you've got everything below, and no one knows what's below. You could call that unconscious. And the world triggers it. And all of a sudden, this unconsciousness, what is in the unconscious, comes up into the consciousness. Maybe what is happening is the unconscious is being made conscious, and this is the opportunity to deal with it. Because if we don't, what will happen is it'll keep coming back, and we'll just call it fate. So procrastination, fear of rejection, imposter syndrome, they are features of the system that show us how to evolve to the next level. If you want to be that person who can go up to that attractive person in the bar and, hey, can I buy you a drink? Let's have a chat. The universe goes, cool, I can give you that. Awesome. The obstacle is the way. What you need to do is overcome this, this, and this. And it pops up. And the first time that pops up, everyone goes, no, I don't want to address that. We push it back down, which is why Susan Jeffers, feel the fear and do it anyway, is terrible. Because you've got to, if you feel the fear and do it anyway, you're not processing through it. You're not letting the obstacle be the way. So, procrastination, fear of rejection, imposter syndrome, they are nothing more than an energetic sensation you are experiencing in your body. You are then wrapping a story around it to say that it is something you can't overcome. How about you just simply stop wrapping stories around it? Let it deactivate itself, and that's what I explained in the end of chapter 1 or 2 in the book Mindset Mastery. So you don't have to deal with it. You can use that as a feature, not a bug, and you can move forward. Which is, can you see that this doesn't involve any habits or any discipline and gives you so much more freedom?
I was really interested, going back a few years ago now, a book by the name of by Mel Robbins, The 5-Second Rule.
Right.
Have you read that?
No, I haven't.
Okay. It's an interesting take, and much of what she talks about is in contradiction to what you talk about. One of the key elements to hers, and I'd love to have a chat about this, is she talks about when we have an instinct to do something, whether it's to go and talk to that person at the bar, to send that email, or whatever the case may be, we get that feeling. And within 5 seconds, if we haven't acted on it, that we'll convince ourselves that it's not the right thing to do, and we won't do it. And she talks about, it's called the 5-second rule. That's the name of the book. And what her recommendation is count backwards and just do it.
Yeah. Con
had an instinct. I want to get in touch with Darren and see if he'll come on my podcast as a guest. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just do it. What does that sound like to you? Does that sound like something constructive or a little bit,
it sounds like a great title for a book that can be sold really well.
And it has.
And it has, absolutely. So there's so many things going on under there that is not useful from an evolution of the individual point of view. I'm not talking about species evolution. I'm talking about you as a person.
Yep.
So the idea, so let's put it into a situation. You and I have known each other for years, so it's probably not the best situation.
No, fair enough.
The listener, they're single, they're at a bar, they're with friends, they see that attractive person over there, they want to go talk to them. Okay, so let's apply that 5-second rule. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you've got to go over them. Oh, I said I would. And you're going to make a dick of yourself. That's all right. Glug, glug, glug. Have a few more drinks. I'll go off and I'll push it. You use a numbing agent, alcohol, so you can do it. But next week when you're at the bar, you see another attractive person. It's the same story over and over. Can you see that what is happening is you're fighting against that energetic sensation in your body that says, don't do it. But you have a habit or a discipline that says you will do it. And then you either follow your habit and discipline and go off and make a clown of yourself, or you sit there and beat yourself up because you can't follow your habits and discipline. See the problem? So why don't you just simply deactivate that energetic sensation that gives you fear around going off to speak to that person? So I see that attractive person over at the bar. What is happening? So in the early part of the book, you'll have come across the sensory body feedback loop. The way that it works, and I'll go through this very quickly. There's 5 levels: cognize, recognize, assess, sensation, reaction. So cognize, this is when your sense doors are activated by the world: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell. But there's mind, there's vestibular, there is the organic system, which tells you inside that you're hungry. There's so many more senses. In the world of philosophy, they talk about 43 senses. The ancient Egyptians had 100 and something. For some reason, we've pushed it down simply to 5, probably because it fits the fingers. So cognize, the sense doors are activated. Recognize, you then run it through, go, I understand what this means. So you cannot, if you're a native English speaker, you cannot hear English and not understand it. If you have, you understand, you know what a car is, and you see a yellow car drive past, you cannot not know that it's a yellow car. This is automated. You can't stop your sense doors operating. Sure, you can close your eyes so you don't see, but you're actually just looking at the inside of your eyelids. Cognize, recognize, assess. So what it does is it then goes through your memory, your subconscious, and assesses what it is there. Now, Con, last time I saw you, you were just like a great bloke, and it was awesome to hang around with you. You reached out to me, and I've gone through cognize, recognize, assess. Oh, yeah, feeling good. Love to have a chat with Con. So I assess it as good. But if the last time we hung out, you called me a couple of names, I just think you're a bit of an idiot, I would have an energetic, I would assess it as not desirable. Now, this whole process is automated. You cannot override this. It doesn't matter how often your therapist says, just think differently about it. Doesn't matter how often you journal to yourself, I will be better at this shit. It doesn't matter how often you put a 5-second rule on it that says, I will overrun this. It's automated. So cognize, recognize, assess. At this stage, the body has no idea of what's going on. This is all inside your brain. Now, you can argue that the brain is actually held within the body and the nervous system. That's another argument. When it assesses, it then needs to send a sensation to the body. Otherwise, the body doesn't know what's going on. Cognitions are the language of the brain. Sensations are the language of the body. So the brain, cognize, recognize, assess, sends a sensation to the body. And it's at this point that we have our first opportunity to intervene in the process. I receive an email from you saying, come on to the podcast. I go, last time I spoke to him, yeah, it was great. Let's catch up. Kind of makes sense. It's easy. But last time we caught up, I didn't like you, but I go, he's got like the world's biggest podcast and I really want to get on there. So how do I react in a way to that energetic sensation so I can go on there and not be annoyed or, simply because I want to feel good, stick it up your jumper, I'm not going on. The only area we have is where we react to that energetic sensation. If we react with, I like this feeling or I don't like this feeling, we're going to get caught in a loop. If we just simply sit there and go, I have this feeling, we can experience it, then we can make a decision, sans the energetic sensation. But what happens is I pay 100% attention to that energetic sensation within my body. And when I do that, it deactivates itself. More to the point, I stop wrapping a story around coming on this podcast. Oh, last time I went on this, I had a chat to Con. It was great. I'm really looking forward to an awesome conversation this time. Now, what if for some reason you're off your game or actually, I built up our conversation in real world to something different to that which it was. In fact, you told me to bugger off, but I taught it, he's being funny, and I create, because we change memories.
Yeah.
Or if I sit here and go, oh, that wouldn't be really good. I thought he was an idiot. I don't care about his thing. I can't go on, but I get caught in that negative aversion loop. Whereas if I deactivate it, I can go, maybe Con was having a bad day that day. Maybe I've changed my memory, and not tell myself a story about what happened last time. And I can actually just deal with what's in front of me this time. And that is, a guy with a good podcast has reached out and said, hey, you want to have a chat? Without all the story around it, which means I'm not dealing with the story. I'm dealing with what is happening.
Lots to process. We did speak about affirmations very briefly, and that was part of another question. Really interested. NLP is something that is bigger than Ben-Hur at the moment, and it just seems to be gathering momentum. I'm curious on your take
about it.
Yeah.
It's been gathering momentum since I did started my master's in NLP back in 99, I think it was. Got halfway through it and decided to go off and do my degree in psychology. I don't see a lot of that happening in my world. You said it's bigger than Ben-Hur. I think that's because we all live in our own echo chamber. Sure. I haven't seen anything about NLP for years. Okay. So I think what they had, from what I saw, their outcome was good, but their logic to get there was faulty.
Okay.
That was what I started my master's in 99. So that's 24 years ago. So once again, I changed memories. We all change memories, and the memories become self-serving. So please, dear listener, don't reach out and tell me that I'm this, that, and the other. That's the current story rolling around in my head. And, I probably won't say any more about it.
Fair enough. Happy with that. It's certainly in my ecosystem. A lot of the coaches that I know, whether it's online or through personally, part of their arsenal in helping people, whether it's on a business level or on a personal level, relationships, NLP is definitely part of their arsenal.
Yeah.
And they talk about it a lot. So, but that's fine.
It also comes down to the ecosystem that we curate for ourselves. I love politics. I love watching, especially the shenanigans going on with Trump in the US. And I subscribe to all the people who are sane. But I created my own silo. It's an echo chamber. So, of course, everyone agrees with me. So I went out and subscribed to Fox News just for a bit of balance. Oh, man, as a country, Australia is now screwed.
You subscribe to Fox News for a bit of balance?
Just on YouTube. Well, it's
hilarious.
Well, yes and no, but it's what the other half are listening to. Don't forget, in the last presidential election in the US, Trump got more votes than any sitting president in history ever received. Okay? Now, he neglects to mention that Biden got, 10, 12 million more. I don't know how many, but he got more. And he got them in the right place. But if you ignore half of the voting public, if you're following US politics, you're actually going to miss out on what's going on. So it's called doing research.
We digress here, but just as an aside, I spent a number of years in the US growing up as a teenager. Okay. And I have family over there, and I'm a sports nut. Like, I love the American sports, and I do have an interest in what goes on. And I actually often say to people, I look back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, potentially the greatest country in the world, and it's gone to the dog pound.
Yeah.
With Trump, He's still actively running, like going through the steps of running, but he's got all these court things behind him like that. I find that fascinating.
Yeah, well, I put him in the like the 100th standard deviation away from normal. He's like way out there. But you just got to, yes, he's still running. So the reason so this is where you look at both sides of the media. The Democrats will say that he decided to run early because he was wanting to put the case forward that you can't indict a candidate for politics or for president because that's election interference. You know, if you know you're guilty, like you pull out anything you can get your hands on. But obviously that doesn't make any sense because, you know, you want to charge me with something. Well, I'm going to be the president. You can't charge me. He's keeping all this going because it's all about how do we raise money. At the end of the day, it's all about money. Everything.
I was going to say it's always all about the money. And the other thing that I find really, really intriguing, I mean, you know, we had Bill Clinton who, you know, they tried to impeach, and then of course we've got Trump, and now there's calls to impeach Biden as well. So I don't
which is what they're trying to do is just keep up the public facade of, you know, he's corrupt. Biden's corrupt. It's not me. It's election interference. Once again, help me out by donating to my cause.
Good old US of A. Anyway, we digressed, as I said. Darren, back to the topic at hand. I know you do a lot of work with massive companies, both here in Australia and globally. How did you take what I see as quite an individual training, because we all have different, I guess, stories that we tell ourselves, and different belief systems and things that distort our perspectives. How do you take a program or a training, we'll call it regime, that is really quite specific, but then expand it in an organizational environment, particularly when you're talking about big corporations?
So I hear everything you say, but like, to quote Sting from the 1984, one of his songs, you know, we share the same biology regardless of ideology. And it doesn't matter who you are, you have insecurities, you have self-doubt. Why? Because maybe self-doubt is a feature, not a bug. So if I can show you how to address your self-doubt, you'll go, hell, Darren's actually got something for me. And it's about understanding the person that I'm talking to and training. When I say talking to, I'm training or speaking to at conferences. And so I can connect into the world that they're thinking. As you said, when you started listening to my book, you've gone, oh my goodness, has he been spying on me? Everyone says that to me. How do I know I've been spying? How do I know how to write it? Because I look at what I'm going through. Despite what everyone says, you're not a unique, individual, beautiful snowflake. You're just like the rest of us, mate. We're all the same.
Just in a different meat sack.
Just in a different meat sack.
Just in a different meat sack.
You know, you might have wonderful skills in one area of life, but I guarantee you in another, you are like a little baby going, I'm scared.
Oh,
we all are.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
So how do you take a program that's developed in Adelaide, Australia, and sell it to one of the largest, it's a Caterpillar, one of, you know, a Fortune 100 company in their Dubai office. You work out what the individual in the room is going through. So a number of years ago, Caterpillar sent me to Côte d'Ivoire, which you may remember, it used to be called the Ivory Coast.
Yes,
far West Africa. And I'm in a room, white guy from Adelaide, working with, I was the only person in the room who had less than 3 languages. I got one. Okay, so these are multicultural, multiracial, like whole melting pot. And I said to one of my participants, okay, this person you're looking to influence, what's going on in their world? What's their world like? She's sitting there going, I don't know. It was a dealer that Caterpillar sell to dealers and dealers sell to their customers. And I said, what's the dealer owner? What's their life like? I don't know. I said, the dealer owner, he's overworked. He can't manage his staff, and he hasn't taken his whole wife on a holiday for 3 years, and she's getting angry. And she turned around and said to me, how do you know my staff so well? And then she followed it up with, how do you know me so well? People are the same the world over. But I would put my bottom dollar on the guy who runs the dealer network, that dealership in Caterpillar, in, Congo or Cote d'Ivoire or wherever. I reckon he or she was an expert diesel mechanic and loved the product and got sick of crawling under machines and getting dirty and going home stinky. Said, I know what, I want to set up a dealership. And Caterpillar went, awesome, we'll support you. And they've got imposter syndrome all the way through. So they don't know how to manage staff and they don't know how to run a business. It's all the same. Everybody has imposter syndrome. It's a feature, not a bug. That is how my products go all around the world.
Before we wind up, I'm curious, as you mentioned in your introduction, you went to Oxford and studied philosophy. Where's the connection or the crossover with psychology and philosophy?
Yeah. So if we go back to the ancient philosophers, I'm talking Plato, Aristotle, they were the first psychologists. So psychology broke off, first of all, as a branch of philosophy, and then went off and became a scientific discipline. I remember when I started my psych degree, which I completed in 2003, 20 years ago, the first couple of lectures was rammed into us. We are a science, not a philosophy. We follow the scientific principles. Might have been some story the individual was telling themselves. My wife and I visited the UK, and we spent a couple of hours in Oxford in 2019. I just thought, I've got to come back and study here. This place is amazing. And we're going to go in 2020, but we all know what happened.
Yeah.
And when I went there earlier this year to study, I walked into, I studied at Christchurch, which for those who are Harry Potter fans, that is where Hogwarts Castle is, or Hogwarts, I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but it's like where they have lunch and stuff.
Yeah.
We had our breakfast, lunch and dinner in that room every day.
Wow.
Oh, it was phenomenal. But when I walked into the Christchurch, I had the sense of, almost the angels going, about bloody time you made it here, Darren. We've been calling you for lifetimes. That was just the sort of spiritual experience it was. And many people on the course and the other courses there said they experienced something similar. It's a magical place.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Darren, it's been absolutely fantastic chatting with you, mate. It really has.
Been good fun.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad you've enjoyed it. We'll pop your details in the show notes. If anybody out there wants to reach out to Darren regards his work, and if you're looking for training for your organisation, as I said, I've picked up Darren's book, and I strongly encourage you to have a read. It definitely gives you a different perspective. And if you're somebody like me that has read probably most of the books, and really there's been contradictory information or that kind of feeling, get a hold of the book. I'm really enjoying it at the moment, and I thank you for that, Darren.
But for those who, I'm currently running a 5-day mindset mastery challenge. So if you want to work out how to deactivate the energetic sensations that are driving the thoughts, so you can deactivate procrastination and fear of rejection, imposter syndrome, all that sort of jazz, go to mindsetmastery.online.
Beautiful. And we'll put that in the show notes as well. And for those that want to connect with Darren, it's been an absolute pleasure, as I said, mate. Thank you for taking your valuable time and having a chat with us. And
awesome. Had a ball.
ladies and gentlemen, my name is Con. I am the Conversationalist. And until next time, bye for now.